Run and Extermination Any Percent Race by Retroid99 and OV64. Everyone get hyped, sit back, relax, and runners, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Retroid. I started running this game like late 2018 with the help of Ilfi. He kinda taught me everything I needed to know. Ilfi wants to introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm Ofi. I've been running since 2016, and yeah. So I guess we can just count down now, or
yeah.
I guess on 0, 3, 2, 1, 0.
So immediately starting off, this game throws us into like a pseudo tutorial level to kind of get you used to the controls, but it's a little bit more stressful because there's actually like a ticking fan at the end. The fan, you can hear it now, but it'll spin for 3 seconds at a time and then stop for 2, and we have to get there while it's not spinning so we can enter it. And so far we call that first cycle, so we have to try to get to it at a minute and 18 in, or we're gonna lose 5 seconds, and that's just not really good in the first minute of the run.
There's also the spot that you can drop at off the pipe. That's a huge time loss that you might as well just reset for.
A lot of this game is tied to a lot of the actions are tied to a single button. So X is what they call an action button. It's what we do to jump, it's what we do to climb and a bunch of other stuff. Dodge roll. But that can kind of get us into trouble a little bit later, because if there's an enemy next to us but there's a ladder we have to climb on, then we might dodge roll instead of climbing the ladder. And I barely just got in. That's how tight it can be. Any little mistake and you can miss it.
Yeah,
it's not
missing it.
In this opening part, it's gonna be a lot of back and forth platforming. So we're gonna shoot the box immediately, and that box we're pretty much gonna climb on and jump onto this ledge. We have to go to this door, talk to it, and then go back to trigger our teammate to open it. And just shooting the box helps with the platforming a lot. It lets us get around faster. This game, jumping is also tied to the actual button, so we can't freely jump. So any chance we get, we're gonna try to go on a ledge just so we can go a little bit faster by jumping, since it's a lot better than running.
Yeah, it's a lot of really janky movement to just try and take advantage of how weirdly some things are designed. Specifically the jumping.
You don't hear this phrase a lot, you hear the opposite, but it's hard to learn but pretty easy to master, if that makes sense. You just have to put a lot of time into it. And even then you can get messed up. Just this game is not really I think the games that came out before it, you're talking Resident Evil 1 through 3, Silent Hill, so they didn't really figure it out. This isn't tank controls, this is one of the earlier games that just gives you free control of the stick. This is a free flowing camera as well, so we have to try to just deal with it. We can snap the camera in front of us at any point, but we kinda have to come to a complete stop, and that's very slow, so we're gonna try not to do that, but it can mess up movement. Around 10 minutes we're gonna be climbing over a pipe again, and just because we don't want to snap the camera and make it consistent, there's just a good chance we fall off of it. A load of things like that. This is also for the first split in this game, the first 2 splits, there's not really any danger of you getting attacked or hit, so all of the time loss is just movement optimization. So a lot of runners will just, by a lot of runners, I mean me, Nerfy, no one else really touches this game anymore. But a lot of our resets are within the first 2 splits, or the first 10 minutes, just because it's been so optimized. You don't really want to leave it with any time loss.
Yeah, just a bunch of really weird, janky jumps that you have to make. Because you can't just jump anywhere, it has to be off a ledge. So there's some weird setups of doing things that don't really look right to be able to jump.
Also, one more thing to note with jumping. Whenever you jump, you kind of have a little bit of control of it. So you can like hold the stick back to like break your momentum and end up like a little bit like further behind instead of doing like the full jump. Or you can like angle it left or right. Which, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a lot of jumps a lot more consistent or like tougher to do. No real in between.
Help me!
Am I gonna get it? Okay, so I just watched the cutscene of our teammate like getting destroyed. We might see him later, spoilers, but there's a chance that whenever you try to skip it, the game audio will cut out completely and it just plays the entire cutscene. It's like a minute time loss. In any normal sense, you would just reset buying a marathon. There's really no good answer, because either turning off like the console and like loading a save after is very slow. We're coming up on one of like the first, I wouldn't really say glitches, but one of like the first tricks in the run. We're gonna be going in a corner trying to line ourselves up with a train that's incoming. If the train hits us, you instantly die. That's gonna be a theme in this game. There's a lot of instant deaths in this. We're gonna avoid all of them though, because we're really good at games. But if we angle ourselves just right, a little bit of fire comes out before the train actually hits us. And that fire will give us iframes. So because that fire gave me iframes, the train actually didn't hit me, so I only took like 5 damage instead of dying. And that's by far the fastest way to like get through. What the game wants you to do is climb the ladder nearby, or like run away, but this is just like one of the cooler things you can do.
I ended up doing the strat in the corner, and while the other one gives you the iframes from the fire, in the corner you actually get hit by the train, but you don't die. And I'm not sure what the mechanics are there that let you get hit there and not die.
This game has a lot of weird, janky things that are cool, but not really well explained. Like, if you run this game for a long time, you kind of learn all of them, and you still don't understand why it happens. But that pretty much finishes out the first split. Like, as soon as we like left the drawbridge, we can't go back anymore. We have to try to unlock the door to the we have to go to the command center, input a passcode, and then unlock the door to one of the laboratories to progress through. And this part is like very scary, because as soon as we exit the laboratory, we have to fight our first boss, and that's also another run killer for most people. Like, there's a good like 80% chance we die and have to like load up a backup save, but that probably won't happen, hopefully. We just need a little bit of good luck. But it's by far the biggest gatekeeper, outside of like instant death pits, which I jumped over.
Are you talking about the freight elevator right now?
Yeah. Elevator
okay.
boss.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to reset for that one. There's a lot of just reset points in this game.
During normal PB attempts, what we would do is min-max health, which whenever you pick up a health item in this game, it instantly takes you to like the screen to use it. So what you do for like a PB attempt now, or like world record attempt, you'll like avoid picking up like any extra health items until you have to use it on the spot, and that gets very scary, and there's not really any good items to pick up. So pretty much the only 3 health items we're going to be using in this game, in this run, are IVA and Bs, which the IVA heals 30 out of 100 HP, and the IVB will heal you to like full HP, which we only pick up 1 IVB in the run, and it's used for a very specific point where you have to take a lot of damage. And then there's a booster B we pick up, which that heals you to full, but also heals your infection meter, which pretty much enemies have 2 different kinds of attacks in this game. One of it deals raw damage, and the other, they're like spit out like a green goo, and that deals infection damage. If you get to 100 infection, you pretty much will like start transforming into like one of the enemies, and it caps your health out at 60, makes you take damage in water, and just every now and then you like get stopped from moving just to take even more damage. So we avoid that at like all costs. There's like one part where it might be useful to have that happen, but it's not until like the final boss, and it's very situational. But I saw someone mention main character looks like Snake. That's actually, the main character in this game looks a lot different than the one in the JP or PAL version. This was one of the earlier PS2 games where they kind of like did a bunch of regional differences. So over here they tried giving him like the Hollywood like Navy look or Marine. But over in JP and like PAL territories, he has like a black suit and just like a buzz cut instead of like the wavy hair. But he does look like Solid Snake from like the Metal Gear games. The grade definitely like screams that. I'm at the elevator now, so this is where the first boss comes into play. So I'm gonna be quiet for a little bit and just focus on not dying.
Yeah, this is a pretty big reset point. First big one.
Just look at him, he's very menacing. Now, it would be a big reset point if we could have just like rock past him and go down the elevator. You don't actually have to fight him. If you do fight him, you get a dog tag, which if you collect all of the dog tags, it gives you like New Game Plus benefits, but that's pretty much it. It's nothing useful for the speedrun. In this run, we are pretty much gonna avoid every single enemy we can outside of like 3 different bosses that we have to kill.
I forget how long exactly, but I think for the first year or so of running this game, we actually fought the elevator boss.
And what you guys used to do for that, you used to pick up like the shotgun attachment, right?
Yeah, we would pick up just so much extra stuff to deal with stuff that we didn't need to deal with, like the elevator boss.
So coming up here is going to be like, I don't know if you would call this a glitch. I guess it's more of an exploit. It's like the second trick in the run. We're going to be climbing up this ladder and then detonating this so we can get past. But if you normally stand on top while it detonates, you get blown off in a cutscene. But if you go on the ladder and then wait for a sound cue, you wait like 2-3 seconds after it like goes off, you actually get to climb back up and just do whatever you want. So normally if I was up here I would get blown off, but I just can rock behind here. And we can't actually go past through until like a time trigger happens. So once this completely falls down, it'll throw us back out front and then we can actually cross it. But until then, we're pretty much just like wasting time. So this little exploit lets us come back here, pick up the booster B, and then it spawns us back out front. Which is very important once we get to like the final boss. We're gonna keep it all the way up until then.
Yeah, I think you already mentioned, but that IVB completely heals both types of damage, so it's very useful to have.
In the final boss, will deal both like normal damage and infection damage to you, and it deals a lot of it, so being able to just like completely get rid of it is very important. Also, I didn't mention it earlier, but this is a tripwire. There's actually a third exploit we've been doing. If you run through...
I think that's technically the first one that's like...
Yeah, it is the best. Well, no, the train is unintended.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But pretty much, if you run through a tripwire, pause, and then unpause at the right time, you could pause buffer through it and not take any damage. If not, you would have to come to a complete stop and use your knife to cut it. And if you do get hit, you only lose 10 damage, so the little bit of time save is definitely worth going for. Now we're entering the probably one of the worst parts of the game. This is the water, like, lab. Is it the water lab? What is this even called?
The water filtration plant.
Oh, water filtration plant.
So, this is the water
We
filtration
get
plant.
introduced to our second enemy here. There's gonna be mutated bats. So far we've seen mutated leeches, which they could be annoying. They pretty much can't touch us up until this point though. you just avoid all of them, but the worst they can do is like latch onto you or like do a little bit of infection damage. The bats though, they pretty much get like free reign, and as you can see, a leech just like did a green like gas attack to me. That's unfortunate. It only does infection damage though, so it's not a big deal. The bats on the other hand, they don't do any infection damage, but while you have to climb a bunch of ladders, and they just get free reign to like attack you at any point. So during PB attempts, you're trying to like min-max healths, and this like 10 minutes of like gameplay pretty much like determines how many extra items you have to pick up early on to deal with.
Yeah, it's just one of multiple completely random like points of damage.
Which there's a lot of them in this game. The more you run it, the more you're like, I don't want to pick this health item up because it's gonna lose me time. The more different like weird things can actually hit you and deal damage. There's a lot of like tiny min-maxing in this game for like time saved. That jump is also kind of unintended. You're supposed to swing off the like step ladder, but it's very slow and it puts you down with like 2 different trip wires. So if you angle it right, that's one of like the weird movement things where you can jump and then angle your jump to just kind of like get on the platform. As you can see, a bat just hit me. I had no control over that. They just decide to do whatever they want. It's pretty typical to get hit like 2 to 3 times. You're hoping to not get hit at all, but that's not a choice you really get. This is also a bit of time loss, potentially. When barrels explode, the first set of barrels are early set to explode in this room, but like the radiance and where they go is random. They're like trajectory. So sometimes they could just like not hit the barrels in the middle, and you're gonna have to like aim down and shoot. It happens. Like, for the first year running this, it never happened. I had no idea it was a thing. And then I just started getting unlucky and it would happen like 2-3 runs back to back. It's not a major time loss, but if you're not paying attention, it's pretty bad. And that's another example of min-maxing with health. There was a health item in front of me. I was 30 HP behind, so I picked it up and used it. If I was full health, I would have skipped it on a PB attempt. I also picked up another health item at the beginning of the run just for like safety, because there's a bunch of points where we could just take damage, and if you're min-maxing health for like a PB attempt, you're just expecting to like potentially die in like the second half of the run. But since this is a marathon, none of us want this to happen, none of us want that to happen, so we're going to be grabbing some like safety health items, and just typically playing this a lot safer than you normally would see.
Sure, there's at least one person that would be excited to see something like that happen.
It can still happen, honestly. There are times where like I go through this game and it treats me very good, and then next like run, every single thing that can potentially hit me just decides to. It's RNG, and later on, if you think bats are bad, there's actually an enemy that's a lot worse with hitting you that you have a little bit of control over, but nowhere near as much as you really want.
I think I ended up getting hit twice in water filtration.
Yeah, I did as well.
Which is about average, yeah.
Now, I'm in the, this is the infirmary. We're meeting up with our teammates, trying to figure out what's happening. Get used to seeing this room often. After every major event, we're gonna backtrack here, fill in our teammates, and then get a new objective. This game, the story gates are objective based, so you have to either talk to someone or like hit a button to like progress to like the next area. There's no like sequence breaking, unfortunately. Elfie did find like an out of bounds, but since it's objective based, we can get into our room. We just can't do anything inside of it once we do.
Have you got time for a quick couple of donations?
Yes, we do. Feel free.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's start with a $10 anonymous donation. Thank you very much. And we also have a $1 donation from Greta saying, Retroid Nation, woo! P.S. If you get hit by the train, you switch to an Isekai. I think that's how you pronounce it, Isekai.
Thank you, Greta.
And just want to remind you all, we do have some bid wars going on and some incentives. So our first bid war is a control any cent run coming up very soon. You can pick the language. So far, German is winning with $97.52. You can also choose between French, English, and Spanish. And after that, we do have a donation incentive for Kill the Ancient Dragon, which needs $40, and so far only has 2. So if you want to get your donations in, make runs more interesting, go right ahead, ! Donate in the chat, and we'd absolutely love to raise money for such a brilliant cause.
Alrighty, yeah, make sure you guys get your donations in for incentives. We don't have any for Extermination, but day 3, there's still a bunch of runs that you could donate for, so make sure you check that out. That room I just left is one of the scariest rooms in the game. Whenever you go to unlock the snow truck and pick up the items, those big mutants can pretty much block your path, attack you, do whatever they want to you. It either wastes time, or you take damage and it also wastes time. I got very lucky and neither of those happened to me, but that's normally a point of the run where it's just very unfortunate. You're expected to like not have a good time.
Yeah,
and as you
I
can
didn't
see,
take damage unfortunately, but I ended up getting stuck in there.
Yeah, if you get stuck, you have to run back and shoot the bell, and it just wastes time. Now, this is the first time where I'm actually gonna stop and like cut a tripwire. Normally whenever you go up to them, half of the tripwires in the game, the FPS is actually like dipping a little bit, so it makes like the pause buffering easier. But since this room is like very small, you're like guaranteed to be 60 FPS, it's a little bit more frame perfect, so I just choose to cut it because it's safer. And now we get like other type of enemy in the game, we get dogs. Unlike the last speedrun here, you cannot donate to pet the dog, but you can donate once again for this incentive, so please do. At the moment, we're pretty much just trying to pick up 2 metal dog tags to unlock the laboratory 1 and 2 doors, which, if you remember, right before we like went in the elevator, we actually went in inside one of the laboratories. We just didn't go in the basement of it. We're trying to get the dog tags to unlock those. So this part of the run is pretty much just a bunch of movement. Nothing really bad can happen. You can lose health. It can be a little bit unfortunate, but you're not really expected to like lose a lot of time. This is pretty much like the downtime you have in the run because you go through vents. It's fairly safe. Nothing too spooky. I also in the last room picked up a scope. We're gonna be using that scope for the final boss. It helps a lot because it makes our like bullets homing, like it makes our bullets track, which is terrible for everything else except that one specific boss at the end.
Yeah, normally there's cores on enemies that you can hit for extra damage, so having the auto aim gets rid of the possibility of hitting cores, but for that boss specifically, there's no cores to shoot, so having the aimbot's fine.
Cores are a very big deal in this game. Normally you would think like in most like shooters, like aiming for the head or something would be best, but in this game the weak point on enemies are like giant green or blue glowing dots. If you look at some of the enemy designs, you can kind of see them. That's where you want to aim, and for the bosses we do have to fight, getting a core hit does like probably 5 times more damage than just a normal hit. It's very insane how much better it is. And along with like the combat in this game, you only get this single gun, you get this single like assault rifle, but it gets attachments that let it turn into other guns. So I mentioned a shotgun earlier. You grab a shotgun attachment and start firing off shotgun rounds. The only attachment we pick up in this game is the grenade launcher one, because it just that's like our main strat for every single boss, except like one of the final bosses, which I'll go over once I get there. It's actually a very like complex thing, but once we get the grenade launcher attachment, we're just going to be using that throughout like the rest of this. And now I need to be quiet and actually count how much damage I'm taking.
Yeah, this section here in the lab's just another spot where it's not exactly random, but just another instance of a really high amount of damage. So you kind of have to pace the run around the damage that you're taking.
Now, normally in that room, I would use the 1 full health. I actually messed up because I grabbed a safety item earlier. It messed up my muscle memory. I wasn't really thinking about it. So my health route is going to be... I'm probably going to take a little bit more damage and then just use it anyways, but normally you would just like heal to fall from there. But the electrical field, you don't have to take damage there. You can actually climb up top and like avoid all of it. It's just very slow. That damage boosting through it is a lot faster. It does 8 damage like per like tick. And whenever you get hit by it, it's actually RNG how many times you're going to get hit in this room, because if you get hit by like a floor pad, or if you get hit by the electrical field, you have a chance to either like stand in place, get knocked back, or get knocked forward. You want to like stand in place or get knocked forward, but it's much more likely you get knocked back, meaning you're on it longer, and have a greater chance of like getting hit 1 or 2 more times than if you got good luck. In this example, I only got hit, I think, like 8 times, which is on average, but if I got knocked back too many, I would be getting hit like 9 or 10 times, and if you got knocked forward and got good luck, you would get hit like 7 times there. But the like health min-maxing in this run is very important, because you're like guaranteed to take a lot of damage in areas like this, but you're also like, it's very luck dependent, like how many like hits you take from enemies that are just like out of your control. Speaking of being out of your control, in this room, that's where we introduce the most terrible enemy in this game. There's some mutant soldiers now, and somehow they know how to like pick up a gun and fire it. And you have like no control over like how many times you get hit. It's very bad, but we just kinda have to deal with it.
It's 10 damage each right now, and later it goes up to 15, and sometimes you don't get hit at all, sometimes you get hit 4 or 5 times.
Now, I fumbled a lot, but I can explain, like, one way we can like avoid taking damage from them is if we walk super close, they're gonna try to do a grab attack, and the animation for it is super slow compared to like our run speed. So we kinda just bait out a grab and then like walk away from them. But any point we walk towards them, they can shoot us, or they can shoot us from across the room. You're just expected to take like a bunch of damage going from one area to another when these guys are involved. Right now we're both going in the level 1 lab. We just got out of the level 2 lab and planted explosives. We're gonna activate the explosives in this, and then go back to the infirmary. And then after that, this game becomes a little bit more exciting. So far it's just been movement based, but the second half turns into like a boss rush with like a little bit of movement in between. We pretty much saved like all the major events for like the second portion.
Yeah, it's primarily just backtracking from here, getting from like one boss to another, and then one like a new area.
So if you have like any more donations, or if anyone wants to plug their Movember Foundation, now's like a great time to do it.
Awesome, fantastic. Let me just refresh all my sheets real quick. In the meantime, just to remind you all, we are benefiting the Movember Foundation. All proceeds will go directly towards the Movember Foundation, benefiting research towards men's mental health and suicide prevention, prostate cancer, and testicular cancer. Since 2003, Movember has funded more than 1,250 men's health projects around the world, challenging the status quo, shaking up men's health research, and transforming the way health services reach and support men. And just again, want to thank all the speedrunners, all the staff, all the donators, all the viewers in chat helping us achieve our goal. We have reached over $1,800 so far. We're on the 3rd day, we still have a few runs to go before the end of the day. So get in your donations. We still have bids going on. Control 80% coming up after Pokemon Rumble, which is after this run, where you can select the game language. We have German, Spanish, French, and English. So if you want to change the type of the game, get your donations in, and most importantly, just have fun, relax, and enjoy the show.
As you can see, me and Elfie, we're like maybe one room behind each other at max. Like, races of this game can get super close. Since there's not really like, once you get like consistent with like the movement and comfortable with the game, not much can go wrong. A lot of tiny things can waste you time, but typically we're going to be very close in this run until like something major happens at a boss, which makes for a more exciting race in my opinion. But if I mess up like a single jump, if I miss like a shot on a boss, Uffy's gonna be like right there caught up to me. And as you can see, I went towards the like mutated soldier so that he would try to grab me so I can come up here and be a little bit more safe. In this part, we have to do these jumps a couple of times where we climb up the forklift and then jump on the boxes. That's actually like some of like the most time saving movement. I messed it up a little bit, but if you could just jump from one box to another, it saves you a lot more time than having to drop down, cut them, and then just like anything you would do like say in a casual playthrough. A lot of the movement in this game is just, you're trying to like min-max jumps as well. Anytime you can set up a jump, you're going to, just because it's a lot faster.
Yeah, it's very weird how like how much faster you move in the air, and then you can control yourself almost better in the air than on the ground.
I also want to mention, like, a little bit more background about this game. This was probably the first survival horror game released on, like, the PS2. It released, like, within the first year of the console's lifespan. A lot of the people that worked on, like, the OG, like, Resident Evil trilogy, they worked on this game as well. Along with Swery65, if anyone knows him. He has a massive cult following for some of his games, and he was a big part of this one as well. The localization for this game, though, it's all over the place. Not only are there like regional differences, like the main character's look, but between the PAL and English version, the US version, they have like an entirely different voice cast depending on which one you play, and also a bunch of like balancing tweaks. The US and PAL version are pretty much the same outside of one difference, but if you go from like JP to PAL in US, a lot of stuff was changed. JP is like easy mode for this game. You take a lot less damage, enemies have less health. There are like probably twice as many healing items spread out, and even like upgraded healing items, so where you would see like an IVA, you could find like an IVB instead. The only thing that's different about the only thing that the NA and PAL version has over JP in terms of like being faster is they have a glitch at the end that's exclusive. Pretty much going from JP, your magazines start out at like 50 bullets and you can't manually reload. Going from JP to PAL, they added in a manual reload mechanic, and that manual reload mechanic can pretty much cause you some funny side effects that help out a lot. And then from PAL to NA, we still have the manual reload, but our ammo's clips got like slashed to like 30 bullets instead of 50. Which is why we pick up 2 ammo clips during the run. I didn't mention when we did it, but you pretty much start off with 60 bullets, and we pick up enough until we have 120, just to make the trick more consistent. Now we're actually on our way to the first boss now. We're backtracking a little bit, well, we're pretty much backtracking up until we beat the boss, but after that we're gonna get to a new area. This boss can be one of the first, like, reset points from just, like, execution rise. This is where, like, core hits come into, like, a pretty big part of this game. If you get core hits on this boss, you pretty much kill him in 3 hits. But if you miss any core hits, and if you miss, like, 4 bullets, it's gonna take a lot longer. Because if you shoot him with grenades, you get 6 grenades for this fight. If you shoot him with all 6, he won't die, but if you hit him on his core 3 times with them, it just ends the fight. That's also one of the scary moments as well. Like, I tried walking up to that mutant, and he just didn't want to grab me, so I could have got shot there. I'm actually very good on health though. There's a lot of times in, like, PB attempts where you're being, like, caution, and, like, you haven't seen it. Well, you have seen it, I think. Caution is pretty much whenever you're, like, holding your arm and you're below 35 HP. It's very scary, because at that point, like, 2 gunshots is all it takes to really, like, kill the... It's all that it takes to kill you and end the run.
I think most enemies, especially in the second half, can actually kill you at about 30 health.
Thankfully in this fight, I'm gonna pick up the grenade launcher, and his core is actually the eye, so we have, like, a consistent shot to actually hit it every time. So far I've only aimed in first person, but you can actually aim in third person, and third person has an auto track. It has, like, an auto lock on. So using that and then switching to, like, the grenade launcher, we can actually, like, aim perfectly at his core and hit it every time. Now, I got lucky there. One of the things that can go wrong in this fight that I wasn't gonna explain, because it completely, like, I forgot about it. There's a leech that can spawn, and what that leech can do, he can interrupt you, and either make you take extra cycles, make you get hit by the boss, and it's very terrible. It can make you waste a lot of time. Thankfully, I got hit, but I got lucky, and was still, like, I still had enough time to shoot him. But if that leech hit me a little bit later, I would have had to at least wait for another cycle. And every cycle on this boss, you have to, like, wait out his attack, so it takes, like, probably around 7 to 10 seconds to do, depending on which attack he gives you. That was a good fight on my end though. You want to get him with only 3 hits, because your grenade count matters a lot for, like, all the boss fights. So if you waste any, it can just make a fight later on be a lot more painful.
Yeah, he ended up blocking one of mine, so I used 4 nades instead of 3.
Now 4 nades isn't super terrible to use. It all depends on the second boss. The second boss, coming up in around, like, 5 minutes, his core shots are nowhere near as easy to hit. It's very finicky, they move around, and you're, like, super far away from him. And once again, unlike, you shoot him 3 times with, you hit his core 3 times with the grenades, he dies, but since it's so hard, it's very likely you're gonna have to, like, use 12 grenades to kill him, and you might be asking, well, you just said you have, like, 3 or 2 grenades, where do you get more grenades? Well, there's this one part coming up that's also a big reset point before the big reset point, so I'll just let you see once we get there, but a lot can go wrong. We have a heavy platforming section where we have to go all the way to pick up more grenades, and there's mutant zombies in there. Not zombies, but there's mutant soldiers in there that can shoot us the entire time. This is kind of like the calm before the storm. Like, climbing up this like wall is like the last, like, major break you get in the game. Everything else is, like, heavily execution based, or you're just backtracking. We're also gonna get another upgrade for our gun. So far we've been shooting single rounds, but now we just unlocked the full auto, which is gonna pretty much show up immediately. You saw these, like, mutant lion dog things earlier. They normally leave you alone, but they can definitely troll you. I've had one chase me and then like throw me off the cliff, which would have wasted like over 2 minutes if I continued to run. We're gonna climb up these crates, go shoot these boxes. There's a health item we can pick up. I'm probably gonna avoid it. We have to go back here, pick up this is the actual thing we need inside of here. We pick up like the detonating bombs. We're gonna blow up like this entire place now. But before we leave, we're gonna pick up some more grenades so we can actually like fight the bosses. Now, even though I got hit, this was actually a pretty good, we call this the C-17. This is the plane we start on in the beginning of the game that crashes. And now, if you remember, we had a teammate in the beginning that pretty much, like, got destroyed by leeches early on. Well, he didn't actually die. He mutated even more, and now we're gonna have to fight him. And he's probably the, like, most terrible enemy in the game. Now, me and Uffy are gonna do 2 different strats. I have very bad eyesight, so I came up with this strat myself. It's good, it's very dumb. You can die immediately, though. I'm gonna climb up on the box and actually jump on the stage. And Uffy's gonna pretty much just stay on, like, the railing and, like, try to, like, do the fight there. I'm doing this so I can try to get, like, a core shot, which I did. If you see the blue explosion, that means I got a core hit. That, like, even one... I got the 2 core hit? Okay. This is actually going, like, a lot better than you would, like, ever expect. You normally want to get at least 1 core hit, but since I got 2, that means I'm gonna save a bunch of time. And with this boss, he has a weird mechanic. If you see me not shooting immediately, that's actually intentional. He gets super armor after you shoot him, so you have to wait, like, 3 to 5 seconds to shoot again for him to take, like, the maximum amount of health. But that fight went, like, picture perfect. Hopefully Uffy gets a good fight as well, but that's pretty much, like, as good as he can get.
Roger. Rest in peace, old friend.
Now, I'm actually gonna... We blow up this place, and then we actually have to backtrack all the way to the infirmary again.
Maybe.
So, while there's not, like, a lot going on, if we have, like, more donations or anything, feel free. This is probably, like, the last downtime we have in the run.
Awesome, need to refresh my page. So we got some pending, no worries. So let me just plug the charity a bit more as we're waiting for that. So, did you know that prostate cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in men in the United States? Globally, more than 1.3 million men are diagnosed with prostate cancer each year. Across the country, there are more than 3 million men living with and beyond the disease. Many are dealing with serious side effects from treatment. It doesn't have to be like this, so we're taking action. My members spent years immersed in prostate cancer research, and in that time, they've pushed progress forward 50 years. How? By thinking differently, collaborating globally, and investing quickly in what works. And don't forget, all proceeds do go to the November Foundation, and so far we've raised over $1,800 towards it, which is absolutely amazing. But we still want to try and reach our goal of $2,500 by the end of the marathon, which is later on tonight. We have a bunch of bid wars and incentives, such as to control any % languages. We have Kill the Ancient Dragon on Dark Souls 2. Need $40 to reach that, currently at 2. So if you want to make runs more interesting, please do donate for a wonderful cause.
Dark Souls bosses are very fun to watch and fight, so please get those donations in. It's gonna be a good time. As you can see on my way back, all these enemies are like fully mutated now, so I'm gonna be taking like 15 damage instead of 10, so this is where the run gets like very scary if you've been min-maxing health. I'm in caution. I'm gonna heal out of it. I'm pretty sure I have at least one more health item I can use. There's also a third form of healing we can use that we've been skipping throughout this entire run. There's vaccine benches and like the infirmary and other places where you can like save your game. It takes a vaccine, but it pretty much heals your health and infection. It gets rid of like any damage you have. It's very strong, but you have to interact with it, and then it plays like a little like cutscene. So it takes like around like 10 seconds to actually use it. So we, like, when we first started running this game, that used to be, like, anytime we went to the infirmary, we would, like, take the vaccine bench. We would pick up vaccines to use it, and now we're at the point where we just avoid it, like, at all costs. Like, if you have to take a vaccine, it's very unlikely you're going to PB, or something majorly bad went wrong. How did your Roger fight go, Ophi?
So I ended up getting no core hits. I didn't miss any hits though, but I still had to use the regular bullets instead of grenades. So I think I'm kind of far behind now at this point.
Yeah, that's a major thing. Like, whenever I said core hits will probably determine, like, who wins this race, I really meant it. For the Roger, since I got 2 core hits, I finished the fight 19 seconds faster than if I just, like, got a single core hit, and probably, like, 30 seconds faster if I got no core hits.
I think the damage difference is like 80 to 400, and then Roger only has 1200 health, so 2 core hits is already a, giant portion.
Along with that, I mentioned earlier, Roger has, like, super armor. You can still deal damage to him, but if you don't wait long enough, you're dealing less than 80. You probably deal something like 40 damage. Which, if you went into the fight with, you had what, 14 nades? Because you had 2 coming out. You can normally end the fight. You normally end the fight with like 12 nades if you get no core hits, but if you hit him while he has super armor, you're gonna run out of nades and have to shoot. That happens pretty often as well. Getting core hits on him is not even so much like execution. You have to get lucky with where you move since they're constantly moving. My setup, I can like pretty much aim for a single core hit in the beginning, but if I don't get it, then it's just luck if I get any others. Now, we're backtracking again after the infirmary. We're gonna go to the command center, which is the place we went in the beginning, to input the password and unlock the level 1 laboratory door. We have to go there, do a couple things, and then we're gonna be on our way to the final boss. Which the final boss is pretty scary. There's a lot of, it's by far like the most execution heavy part of the run, but it's also probably like the most fun part to watch. But it's also very scary, so hopefully, like, it wouldn't be surprising if, like, one of us dies on the final boss. It's just not, like, the most safe thing in the world to do. Or even die on the way to the boss. If you, on a PB attempt, right now, I would normally be at, like, 30 HP, so if I get shot twice, that's pretty much where the run would end. Thankfully though, since this is a marathon, I do have an extra health item on me, and I have been picking them up, so unless I fall into like a death pit, there's a 0% chance we actually die from like enemy attacks. Also, you see in the top corner, my infection is 20+. That's nothing major, but it will play a big part on the second phase of the final boss. I'm gonna have to use the booster B. Not when I get, like, 1 hit away from death, but when I'm, like, 1 hit away from, like, becoming infected. So I'll have to kind of, like, pay attention to my health even more for that. Now, movement in this room is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to climb across the pipe. We're going to jump on a crate and actually, like, try to jump on the floor. It's scary because there's going to be a mutant, like, soldier in front of us that can either shoot us or, like, stop us from doing that. As you can see, he shot and stopped us from doing it, so that's like by far like the worst possible scenario. I'm also gonna heal. Like, this room is supposed to go like a lot smoother than it did, but that's what happens in the game. You can just lose time to pretty much anything. Every single enemy, every single room, all of it's super scary and not consistent. Just because enemies, they attack you and you have no control over it. But in that room, and also in this room, this is something Uffy probably like looked into a year ago. We used to do different movement that was a lot safer and slower. Like he found out the one box jump you could do, and he found out like a pretty janky jump you can do in this room. That if you fail either of them, it wastes like probably 5 to 10 seconds, but if you get them right, it'll save you 5 to 10 seconds over doing the other movement. Failing them is very bad though, because it's not like it evens out, you're losing more time than if you were trying to do the safe movement. I'm gonna climb up these ladders, readjust my camera, and try to jump on those little like test tube things. And a lot can go wrong here, just because the movement's jank, you don't have a lot of control of it. I went fine, but if I hugged up against the wall too much, it would've just ate my jump, or if I did a short jump, it would just like throw me down below. You have to stand in the middle, and then do a long jump, which, on something that small, it's pretty tough to set up, like on the spot. Now, I'm gonna be grabbing one more health item. There's an IVB in this room. It's weird that I don't get it earlier, but that's because it just doesn't spawn until now. But the weird part is, if you're playing JP, that item spawns immediately. It's very strange, and I don't know why it spawns at all on NA, because I think they just wanted to take it out. But programming probably got a load of spaghetti, so yeah, it's just there anyways. It's nice, it's a full heal before, like, we can still take damage. Typically this helps us out a lot going into the final fight. It normally takes us from like being in caution at like 20-30 HP back up to like 100 to like 80, depending on how many times we get shot.
Yeah, for the lab jump, I had it, but the dog ran too close, so my X button for jump turned into an X button for roll, and I missed the jump.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Anytime you're trying to jump, anytime you're next to a door, next to a ladder, you don't get to choose if you jump or dodge roll. It's whatever's closest to you, and if there's an enemy, it's going to prioritize the dodge roll. Because the way it works is, you don't dodge roll if there's an attack coming. If the enemy's just next to you, X turns into the dodge roll. Getting shot here is actually very unlucky. I messed up a jump, which gave him the opportunity to, but we're still going to be in good health. Now, if you remember, we went into this room like 10 minutes in, and now we have to go into it again to like trigger the final boss sequence. Which, there's like been out of bounds, but there's no way for us to like clip past that door and actually like trigger like the cutscene to like let us through. Or else this game would go from like a 8-minute speedrun to like a 20-minute speedrun or less. Which would be insane. If there was more like strat hunters or like glitch hunters for this game, it would definitely happen. Something like that isn't super like far-fetched to think about. But now, this is the final area of the game. They do give you a vaccine on the ground if you want to use it. We're not going to use it. We have to go inside this room though. There's like a mini infirmary. You have to go in to trigger like the final boss. There's like no other reason we go in there. We're gonna break this crate. It's gonna give us 12 more grenades, and we're gonna attach that one scope we picked up earlier. Now I'm actually at 22 grenades because of the Roger fight, which is very good. You never see like that many. Core hits not only save you time on the fight, but it saves you more grenades, which saves you time on like later fights. Now this boss has a very particular strat. I'm gonna jump up, I'm gonna unload a clip, I'm gonna unload a second clip. I'm gonna switch to my grenade launcher, try to hit it. We hit it, but we got hit back, which is bad. I'm gonna shoot twice, manually reload. And now I'm gonna shoot down to 29 bullets and manually reload again. And then I'm gonna empty out my clip. Now I should have no ammo, but I'm still shooting. How is that happening? Pretty much if you manually reload at 2 specific points, for me, I do 59. I do 58, my bad. I do 58 and 29. You get to shoot negative 256 bullets afterwards. There's a bunch of different numbers. The later, like, the lower you reload, the, like, greater, like, the bigger the number range is for, like, what you can actually, like, reload at to, like, perform this glitch. Which is what Ophi's gonna do. I have this specific setup because I don't like risking it. Now, this boss is dead. I switched scopes once again because I don't want the auto tracking. I'm trying to get core shots, so I need it to go exactly where I want it to go. But, we're pretty much gonna bank on trying to, like, shoot his core in the beginning. It's very inconsistent and scary. And if you fail it, it's pretty bad, but if you get it, it becomes, like, very good. And we did get it, that's beautiful. If I can get it once more... Alright, I got my 2 core hits. I'm not gonna... Normally, I would try to, like, stay down here if I was going for a PB. I would try to, like, risk getting a 3rd. But now that we got 2 core hits, I could pretty much go to a turret and just, like, unload off on him. Alright, I could take 1 more hit before I have to heal. And with this turret, I'm gonna swing it around. This is actually not the best. I'm gonna have to heal now. Alright, I shot that box up there. That box we're gonna actually use for, like, the 3rd phase of the fight. But pretty much, he's in a very bad spot, so I'm gonna try to get a core hit. If he sits next to us like this, it lags out the game, meaning we shoot less, we shoot slower, and all of that. So this is actually very scary. I don't think that killed him. This should kill him, yeah. Alright, time's gonna be coming up soon. We're gonna jump up here. We have to shoot him 5 times. Which, the first lineup is pretty, like, rough. We got it, though. But after you line up, you pretty much just have to stand in place and shoot him. You see those leeches next to me? That's why this fight becomes terrible. They can come up, they can attack you. They can shoot, like, the gas at you to infect you. If you get infected in the previous fight, and they try to do that, you're actually invincible to it. That's why it's kind of good to get infected at the end. This is our 4th shot. 1 more, and the run's gonna be over, so I'll give that soon. And time. Even though we played this safe, because of the 2 core fights on Roger, this is actually a new world record, the first sub 57 run. I've had people joke about it, but it's actually very funny to actually get it here.
You're safe.
Yeah, I was going to say your run is going extremely well, actually.
No,